you reap. As you use your resources to bless others, as you pour into God's kingdom, you will see an even greater overflow of blessings coming into your life. It is an unstoppable cycle of provision, a divine economy where generosity multiplies wealth rather than depleting it. Luke 6:38 affirms this truth. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. The more you open your hands to give, the more God will fill them again and again. This is what true prosperity looks like. It is not just about accumulating riches. It is about using your wealth as a vehicle for love, healing, and transformation. It is about making a lasting impact, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. As you step fully into this divine calling, as you embrace the prosperity that God has already ordained for you, I encourage you to release any lingering doubt, fear, or hesitation. Step boldly into this season of overflow, expansion, and supernatural provision. If this word has stirred something in your heart, if you are ready to walk in the fullness of God's abundance, declare it now. Type, "I am ready" in the comments below as an act of faith, as a prophetic statement that you are stepping into the greatest season of your life. This is your time. Rise, receive, and walk in the wealth that was always meant to be yours. Every blessing that flows into your life is not just a moment of favor. It is a divine reflection of God's unchanging character and His unwavering commitment to see you flourish. It is evidence that He sees you, He knows you, and He is actively working on your behalf. Think back on the times in your life when you felt helpless, when you had no answers, when you reached the end of your strength, and suddenly a door opened, a way was made, provision arrived at just the right moment. Maybe it was a financial breakthrough that came when you needed it most, a miraculous healing when all hope seemed lost, or an opportunity that appeared out of nowhere and changed your entire future. That was not coincidence. That was God. Perhaps you've experienced His faithfulness not just in the grand, miraculous moments, but in the quiet, everyday blessings, the small provisions, the unexpected kindness, the subtle reminders that He is always near. Divine richness is not just found in big victories. It is woven into the steady, unshakable provision that sustains you day by day. Every sunrise that greets you, every breath in your lungs, every meal on your table, every moment of peace in your heart. These are all signs of a God who never fails. Deuteronomy 8:18 declares, "But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms His covenant, which He swore to your ancestors, as it is today." The abundance in your life is not the result of your efforts alone. It is a gift, an inheritance, a fulfillment of His promises. And because God is faithful, you can trust that this divine flow of blessings will continue not just today, but for the rest of your life. When you shift your perspective from striving to receiving, from effort to grace, everything changes. You realize that you are not just surviving, you are thriving. You're no longer chasing blessings. Blessings are chasing you. Yet, as you step into this abundant life, there will be those who doubt your success, those who mock the favor upon you, those who question why you are so blessed. But here's the truth: they cannot touch what God has blessed. No amount of criticism, judgment, or negativity can diminish what He has ordained for you. If God has set His favor upon your life, if He has decreed prosperity over you, then who can stand against it? Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. Your wealth, your success, your divine increase are not about proving others wrong. They are about fulfilling the purpose God has placed upon your life. Those who once mocked you will one day stand in awe of what God has done. They will see that it was never about your ability, but about His favor, His grace, His power working through you. And in time your testimony will speak louder than their doubts. But remember this, those who criticize often do so from their own insecurities, from a place of misunderstanding. Their opinions do not define your reality. God's word does. His promises do. Stand firm in His truth and do not let negativity sway you. Keep your eyes on the vision He has given you. Stay faithful to your calling. As you walk in the fullness of His provision, you will see mockers fade into silence, and what will remain is the undeniable evidence of God's goodness in your life. Living in God's abundance is more than financial wealth. It is total transformation. It is peace in your mind, joy in your spirit, strength in your body, clarity in your purpose, and favor in everything you touch. When you truly step into this divine prosperity, lack becomes a foreign concept. Scarcity is replaced with sufficiency. Fear is replaced with faith. This is not just an external change. It is an inner awakening. It is the deep, unshakable knowing that your needs will always be met. It is stepping into each day with confidence, peace, and gratitude, because you know that your Creator is walking with you, orchestrating every detail of your life. The journey to divine abundance is not overnight. It is a process of growing in trust, deepening your faith, and learning to walk in alignment with God's plan. As you continue on this path, you will begin to witness miraculous breakthroughs, unexpected doors opening, opportunities that seem too good to be true, but they will be true because God is faithful. And here's the greatest revelation: abundance is not about having everything you want. It is about receiving everything you need and more. When you live in the fullness of God's provision, you no longer fear not having enough. You no longer worry about tomorrow, because your future is secure in His hands. You were created for abundance. You were destined for overflow. And now it is time to fully embrace it. This is the life God has called you to, a life of peace, abundance, and unshakable joy. It is not a life of uncertainty where you constantly wonder if you are on the right path. Nor is it a life of fear where you worry about how things will unfold. No, this is a life where you walk in divine assurance, knowing that every step forward is already prepared, every need is already met, and every blessing is already in motion. Stepping into wealth is not about leaping into the unknown blindly. It is about moving forward with confidence, knowing that God has already gone ahead of you, clearing the way, making provision, and aligning opportunities that you cannot yet see. When you understand this, you no longer hesitate, no longer second-guess your decisions. You step boldly into new ventures, investments, and opportunities, because you're not relying on your own strength. You're relying on the one who holds all things together. Think of Abraham, called by God to leave everything familiar behind and walk toward a promise he had never seen. He had no roadmap, no blueprint, only the voice of God telling him to go. And yet, because of his faith, he became the father of many nations. Genesis 12:1-3. What would have happened if Abraham had let fear stop him? If he had doubted the divine assurance that God had already prepared the way? Now, let me ask you, what blessings are waiting for you on the other side of your obedience? Divine wealth is not something you chase after. It is something that follows you as you remain faithful. Scripture says, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." Psalm 23 verse 6. When you walk in alignment with God's will, favor becomes your shadow. Wealth is no longer something you have to fight for. It flows into your life effortlessly, a natural byproduct of living under His provision. Your prosperity is not just for you. It is a testimony of God's faithfulness. Every dollar, every breakthrough, every resource that comes into your hands is evidence that God is fulfilling His promises. And because His word cannot return void, Isaiah 55:11, your life will be living proof that He is a provider, a sustainer, and the source of all abundance. The blessings you receive are not just for this moment, they are for generations to come. When God blesses, He does not bless partially, He blesses completely, eternally and abundantly. This is why Proverbs 13:22 tells us, a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. The wealth you are stepping into will not only transform your life, but it will also impact your family, your community, and the world around you. And yes, there will be those who doubt. There will be those who question why you are so blessed, why things seem to work in your favor, why doors open effortlessly for you. But let me remind you of this. No one can curse what God has blessed. No amount of criticism, no words of doubt, no judgment can alter the favor upon your life. When God sets His hand upon you, His blessing is irreversible. This is your time to embrace the wealth God has promised you. Not temporary riches, but divine wealth, eternal, overflowing and boundless. This provision knows no limits, no restrictions and no ceilings. God's supply is endless like the vastness of the ocean, continually replenishing itself no matter how much is drawn from it. This is the kind of abundance you are stepping into. Jesus Himself demonstrated this when He fed 5,000 people with just 5 loaves and 2 fish. Matthew 14:13-21. The world operates in scarcity, believing that if you take from a small supply, it will run out. But in God's kingdom, the more you give, the more you receive. What should have been insufficient became more than enough. And this is your inheritance. You are no longer bound by the limitations of this world. You are aligned with the abundance of heaven. While the world operates in fear, lack, and struggle, you operate in divine overflow. While others toil and worry, you rest and receive. While others try to control their future, you walk in the certainty that God has already secured yours. And let me remind you, wealth is not just for personal enjoyment. It is a tool for purpose, a resource for impact, and a blessing meant to be shared. As you step into greater financial freedom, you become a vessel through which God's provision flows to others. You will have the ability to uplift, to build, to heal, and to change lives. Your wealth will transform communities, restore families, and be a beacon of God's goodness in a world that desperately needs it. And here's the greatest revelation. The more you give, the more you will receive. This is the principle of divine abundance. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. Luke 6:38. Your generosity creates a cycle of blessing that never stops. The more you pour out, the more God will refill your hands, because He trusts those who steward His riches for His glory. So now, the only question is, are you ready to receive? Because this moment is not by accident. You were meant to hear this. This is your confirmation, your reminder, your divine call to step into the fullness of what God has already prepared for you. Stepping into the overflow, embracing the fullness of God's provision. Divine wealth is not merely about accumulating material possessions. It is about stepping into a life where every need is met, where every area is enriched, and where the abundance of heaven flows freely into your existence. God's provision is holistic. It touches your emotional well-being, your spiritual depth, your physical health, your relationships, your dreams, and your purpose. His blessings are not confined to finances alone. They are the foundation upon which you build a life of peace, joy, and supernatural overflow. When you walk in alignment with His divine plan, scarcity becomes a foreign concept, and lack no longer holds a place in your life. Many struggle to believe that God wants them to prosper. They have been conditioned to think that wealth is reserved for a select few, or that they must live in constant toil to achieve even the smallest success. But this is not the nature of the God you serve. He is not a God of barely enough. He is the God of more than enough. His provision does not come in small portions. It overflows. Psalm 23:5 declares, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows." This is the life God has called you to, a life where your cup never runs dry, where your needs are not just met but exceeded, where His favor surrounds you like a shield. The moment you embrace this truth, your entire perspective shifts. What once seemed impossible suddenly becomes inevitable. The things you used to struggle for now come effortlessly. Doors that once remained shut swing open on their own. The divine favor upon you begins to create opportunities that no human effort could orchestrate. You step into a reality where you're not chasing blessings, blessings are chasing you. Think about the widow of Zarephath, 1 Kings 17:8-16. She was preparing to eat her last meal with her son and then die, believing that there was no way out of her poverty. But when the prophet Elijah came and gave her a word from the Lord, something shifted. She was instructed to give out of her lack, to take the little oil and flour she had left and use it to feed the prophet first. In the natural, this made no sense. How could giving away her last meal possibly result in abundance? But she obeyed, and because of her faith, her oil never ran out, and her flour never diminished. What should have been her last meal became the beginning of supernatural provision. This is what happens when you trust God's economy over the world's economy. The world says, hold on to what you have because there is not enough. But God says, give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Luke 6:38. This divine wealth is not a coincidence. It is a direct result of your alignment with God's will. When you place your trust in Him, He releases opportunities, connections, and breakthroughs that surpass human understanding. He opens doors no one can shut. He creates pathways where none existed before. Isaiah 43:19 declares, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." This is what happens when you step into the overflow. You begin to experience miracles that defy human logic, breakthroughs that come from places you never expected. But here is the secret. Divine abundance is not received through striving, it is received through surrender. The world tells you that success requires relentless toil, sleepless nights, and an endless pursuit of wealth. But God's way is different. His riches do not come from exhaustion, they come from trust. When you release control and align yourself with His perfect timing, you enter into a supernatural flow where blessings come effortlessly. Jesus demonstrated this when He instructed Peter to cast his net after a long night of catching nothing, Luke 5:4-7. Peter had worked tirelessly, using all his skill, yet had caught nothing. But the moment he obeyed Jesus and cast his net again, this time in faith, not in his own effort, the catch was so great that his boat began to sink under the weight of the blessing. What had been impossible through human effort became an overflow through divine intervention. This is how God's provision works. It is not about how hard you work, it is about how aligned you are with His word. This is not a season of scarcity. This is your season of divine abundance. You are stepping into a time where the favor of God will overtake you. Deuteronomy 28:2 declares, "All these blessings will come upon you and overtake you if you obey the Lord your God." This means that you will not have to chase after blessings, they will find you. You will wake up and discover that favor is waiting at your doorstep. You will walk into rooms where opportunities are already prepared for you. You will receive breakthroughs that you didn't even pray for. This is what happens when God's hand is upon your life. But divine wealth is about more than just financial success. It is about favor in every area of your life. It's about restored health, healed relationships, clarity of purpose, and supernatural elevation. It's a complete transformation where you no longer live with the anxiety of what if, but instead walk in the certainty that God has already made a way. The flow of divine abundance is not just for you, it is meant to be shared. Your prosperity is a tool to impact lives, to uplift those in need, and to expand